Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Jason, the creator of I Am Legion for Dying Light 1 and 2, and today I will be doing hopefully a one more step closer to the 1.1 release. I've got a couple of things I'm going to be working on mainly today with the configuration file. So a lot of people have come to me recently. Thank you guys so much for your feedback and said that, a lot of people don't know that the config file exists, and then a lot of people don't understand kind of the values and the different things inside the config file. And then also the config file is a little outdated at this point. And so I'll be going through and trying to update that today, and going through and clearing out the values that are no longer being used. A lot of these values have been changed over time due to either the updates, or B, because people have requested specific things for different mods. So for example, the player preferences, probably the player variables file is probably the most common file used by most mods. And so I went ahead and pulled a lot of that out of the config so that people can continue to support whichever mods they want inside the Nexus. And so I'm going to continue to go through here today and try to update those the best I can, and then also try to make some of this documentation a little bit clearer. So maybe a little bit slower day than usual, but I'm going to be trying to implement a couple of new fun solutions for the requests that you guys have put in over at the Discord. And so thank you guys so much. If you guys are not a member of the Discord community, I would highly recommend, if you have questions or you need a lot of help, or you're just curious about modding in general, I would recommend joining the Discord channel, because that's probably where we're going to see your comments first. And if I'm not available, there's a very large community of people that are more than willing to answer questions. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a good time watching. If you guys have questions, I am available on the YouTube channel, and then I'm also going to be sharing this out on the Discord. I'll be keeping an eye out to see if you guys have questions on both. So hopefully you guys can get a chance to ask me anything you're curious about, and I'll continue to update, and hopefully we can get this 1.1 update launched soon. All right, thanks guys. I'm going to go ahead and share on the Discord channel and go ahead and just get this going. Drag this over so I can keep an eye on this. Okay, so that's set up. And so basically, a couple of people have mentioned some things on the Discord channel. So I just recently created a new channel for feedback for the mod. So if you have feedback for the mod, or have specific things that you would like to see, that's really pertaining to things that have already been implemented, versus I do have a channel for requests, mod requests, and things that people would like to see. This is more specific to what has already been done. I am going to try to look at new feature implementation after 1.1 gets out. But as you guys have seen with the update for 1.1, this took a long time to get released, and it's still not released. So because of that, I'm not really looking at new features just yet, but continuing to try to support what has already been done. And then also, once I get 1.1 out, I'll kind of rebase and start looking again at what new features people will be excited about. But one of the things that people have mentioned is a physics update. I fully agree. We do need a physics update. There are a lot of physics mods that are coming out where people have dedicated a large number of hours. I know that the latest one that I've seen, called Just Ragdoll, has been great. I've seen a lot of great feedback on there. I think it's very much up and coming. It's very new development, and he's doing some pretty cool stuff. So if you guys haven't checked that mod out, I would highly recommend it. The Physics Are Back mod was originally designed back in February when the game was released to support the physics that we all thought should be in the game. And then once I was able to bring those back and restore those, it's changed a lot over time. And so a lot of the original things that I was doing really aren't even necessary anymore. So I'm going to go back and do like a full physics update, re-examine what's going on with the physics in the current vanilla game, and create my own version of the physics based on what I think should be in there for the I Am Legion mod and also my playstyle. So that update will be coming soon. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm going to be focusing today on the configuration settings file. So that people have an easier time navigating what they can set and what they can't set. Hopefully this will result in a tutorial that I'll do here at the end of it to kind of show, how to use the different things. And then hopefully people will be more aware of some of the features that are inside the mod. So I'm going to go ahead and start crawling through. When I first went through, I was trying to do where these files were located in the other script. So if you want to go make different changes, you could. A lot of these have, like I mentioned, have been pulled out of the game at this point, but I want to make sure that we can continue to update these and scrap the ones that aren't actually in there anymore. So like things like the health bar shouldn't, like the interface, that's changed at this point. And so I'm going to start scrapping a lot of these and re-implementing some that might be more useful. So this, we'll leave the interface section for now, just in case. New little sections here so it's easier to see. This part of the mod is actually a little weird because it does deal with basically this is actual injectable code, and so all the formatting I would like to do to this to make it more human readable isn't quite easy to do. And so I am trying to do what I can here to make this as human readable as possible while also working inside the engine. So let's make sure the time scale system is still working. Basically what I'm going to do for each one of these is I'm going to open up a search for my own mod, and we'll just, as we go, I'll just go ahead and search inside the I'm Legion mod to make sure that it's still actually there. Find. Okay, so it's still working in there. And as far as I know, this one should still be working. Let me go ahead and write up a descriptor on here. I'm trying to remember, let me pull up the vanilla values so that I can reference that. I just noticed, so I think when I first started working on this, hey George, how's it going? Is it Jorge or is it George Garcia? How's it going today? So I think I'm gonna actually return this interior value to normal. I don't remember that being so high when the game first released, but if they're doing that for some specific reason, then I want to make sure that that's not messing up anything with the time scale changes. Hey, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. So the FOV is no longer being used, but I believe the FOV stuff is coming out of the player preferences. So I'm actually going to go back in here and I'm going to try to update some of those files as well. So we can pull some of those back into my difficulty one. So basically how I set this up was I leaned into their difficulty settings. So the only problem here is that if any mod continues to use the same files, my mod will overwrite those files. Um, as long as those aren't the same, then it should be fine. So that's why I pulled a lot of these out. But let's go ahead and pull out let me pull up this player variables and let's yeah. So that's the default one, and then let's go into the mod really quick and say, so here we have hard. This is why I mentioned inside the mod description that you have to play on the hard mode in order to actually get most of the actual benefits of the mod. Basically, I like this because it makes it to where you can still play the game however you want. So if you don't want to play with all of my settings, you can just essentially not set it to hard difficulty. But that way, if you do want my settings, you just switch that to hard and it should be fine. Looks like the default here. Okay. So basically what I'm going to do here is we'll just go here and make this really clear that this is settings. One out so we can keep our focus here. For this, we have a couple of different ones that I've got set up here. Basically, the way I'm going to set this up this to the other view. So I'm going to keep this here with the I Am Legion's config. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this is the default one. We'll move this to the other view. So on the right side, we have the extracted default player variables file that have no changes. On the left, not have it anymore because I accidentally closed it. We'll have my mods modify player variables file. And then basically that way I can start hooking back up these different ones. So say like if we want like camera POV, just go here and say, there we go, backwards. That's the car. Grab this camera default FOV and then go in here and say visual camera FOV. So we'll add that and then we'll go back over here to my config. We'll grab this I'm Legend camera config. We'll replace that. So save. Here we need to do, yep. Then for like slow-mo, bring those back. I know a lot of people liked the different slow-mo settings, slow-mo probability. Those are currently in there. And then basically we can go into each one of these and set up this file location setting on here so everybody knows where they can actually go find this file. Player variables hard. Player. That. Slow-mo. So I have a question on the YouTube stream where he's asking, do I plan on having any new mechanics in the game, crafting weapons from blueprints and upgrading them? Absolutely. So I'm actually working on, with 1.1, I'm working on an overhaul for the loot system, for the armor systems, and the hope is that I can go and create new custom loot. The problem that I've run into is that the naming system in the game is actually not exposed, so you can't actually name anything. And I still haven't figured out how to upload custom textures. And so because of that, it kind of puts that development on pause until I figure those things out. Just because technically you could, but without clear descriptions, without names, it's going to be increasingly difficult for people to understand what the heck I'm trying to get at with the mod. And so I'm not trying to confuse the hell out of everybody, especially because if I can get to the naming system, there's also the language translation system, so that you can then say like, okay, how does the mod content actually translate across different languages as well? So for the localization stuff, that's also a concern. So there's actually a couple of reasons that yes, I would love to. No, I don't think I currently can. But if I figure out how to do that, then absolutely. And I think as I go for each one of these, I'll actually throw in these little breaks here so that people can easily find the section. I don't know if that really does a lot for anyone because these are all kind of copied and pasted, but if people want them, then at least those will be on there. It could be potentially. So I'm running, and I think I ran into this before. I'm running a lot of processes in the background uh, for my work, and so let me go ahead and pause in case that's something that. Thanks for mentioning that. Sometimes when I've got I'm pretty much maxing out my CPU, and I'm also using the GPU, using the NVIDIA broadcast, and so that's probably why. So let me know if that helps. Trying to get everything done at once. Let's see. Zipline stuff is still in there. Application stuff as well. I appreciate it. Well, hopefully that's not because of the bad mic, but Yeah, if you have any questions about what the hell I'm talking about, just let me know. It's one of those things where I'm just used to crawling through the code, so not always aware of what people may or may not understand with what the hell I'm talking about. So I apologize if anything I'm saying doesn't make sense. Let's see. um, yeah, so as far as like shooting weapons go, I completely agree. If we could get access to the actual systems to upload new content, 1000%. If I could get hold of textures, I would probably be working on this way more. I've actually been super frustrated that I can't get access to textures, just because that would save a lot of time with the different things that I'm working on. So, right here. X-ray probability. Yeah, so the issue that I've been running into, as far as let me answer this bottom question first. So as far as like the texture importing goes, the issue is not necessarily it's the support for modding from Techland. So they use file compression. I feel like I'm talking about this on Discord all the time. They use file compression to where you can't both extract their files. So I've been able to like very easily open their R packs and stuff like that and pull their files down, but they have a compression system on there that basically you have to have a compression key or a decryption key to actually get access to their files. They have that for all of their art assets. So for models, textures, audio, etc. And so because of that, there isn't currently a way to uh, upload new textures, models, etc. Um, and so because of that, that kind of puts the kibosh on doing a lot of different settings. So you kind of have to like, you can only do so much as far as the modding goes because of that. And last time they did, so they released kind of their own version of the engine that people could use, but that was not specific to the campaign. So it was completely separate from the campaign. But they did add it. It's just you couldn't modify the main campaign. Um, and then for your question about the weather, so currently in I Am Legion, I have added additional weather. So I've created, I think there's 16 different variations of weather on there. And so those were all handwritten and implemented back in like point 0.7, point 0.8 of the mod. And so if you haven't played in a while, I would check it out. Some people are experiencing issues like there's still an issue with like the weather where sometimes you'll get like a chrome effect and stuff like that from the game engine. You have to like open your inventory and close it to clear that kind of thing. Um, but those are definitely there. I would say most of the time it's pretty rainy when I usually play. Overcast, rainy, that kind of thing. That's more of the play style that I like on there. It's dark, grimy kind of thing. Yeah, I think back in like so I was a big Morrowind fan back in the day, and I'm pretty sure around then Bethesda wised up and realized that essentially people will add content to their games for free, and so all they have to do is let them. And because of that, I mean, to this day, people play Skyrim religiously. Uh, and so I think it's a great example of how if you do that right, it works really well in developers' favors. Um, I'm not really sure why Techland has not supported this more, but that just doesn't really seem to be something that they are necessarily interested in. Okay, so I guess what I have to decide again. So I put in the ability to change the stamina on here for a while, and man, people don't like that. Um, but I think I'm going to look into putting it back in and just see if we can balance that out a little bit better for people. And then I'm going to have to constantly test to make sure that I didn't break anything. So I'm going to actually pause for a second and go ahead and launch just because you never know when you accidentally do a typo here. So source, I would say probably the config stuff has taken the longest out of all the work I've done on here. And it has the most ability to break. And so, but it definitely is the one of the best things that I've done for the mod, just because people have so many specific things they want to do inside the mod. So far, so far. The health, it still looks like killing them pretty quickly. I figured out how to have them heal. I haven't actually seen them do it too often yet. But I think I'm going to write something into the system soon that allows them to, if they get away from you, if you let them get away, they'll go heal up, just like the player can. So everything looks like it's running okay so far. So I'm gonna just keep going. No crashes. Let me actually pull up my log files really quick, and I can just kind of keep an eye on the logs, make sure that there's nothing actually slipping through that's not game fatal or anything. Good so far. For the player health, and let's actually add this location here. For the player health, you pull up the health definitions, and then section. Hey, Dora the Impaler, I love the name. I appreciate the support. Welcome to Dying Light 2. I do love crawling through these files and finding little things like So like this is the armor modifier. So and also here's health for the wolves. Have wolves in the game, but they have all the files for wolves. They just don't have wolves. Let me go down to the armor section and we'll actually add these lines in here so that people can change this if they want. So damage modifiers, let's go ahead and say armor. Update for all the syntax so we make sure when I get down to this line that I know that it's already been done. And actually, technically I could put that under player health because that's actually what the system is doing is it's just modifying the health of the player. Actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. So go up here to top, say import I did that wrong. Let's go back down, say light, say that looks like just a int, so say int AIL health armor light equals, so default is 10. And then this is where I can get a little bit more creative here as far as like the difficulty goes. Love the typo. Let's go ahead and fix that. Search, place, ultimate with ultimate. So default is 10. So like for example, if we want to go in there and not do anything too crazy, we'll basically say like, okay, so ultimate is 7, survivor is 8, and casual is 10. Something like that just to make the game a little bit more difficult for people that have the different armor types. That way people can change that as they want. And we'll try to be kind of realistic about this because when I release the armor update, I'm still trying to get it in there, but I essentially want to make there be very specific differences between the different armor types, light, medium, heavy. For example, like with heavy armor, um, you can't parasail, you can't paraglide, kind of thing. And when I do that, it will make more sense in the mod to wear heavy armor to defend yourself, but at the same time, because of um, because of the changes. So I mean, heavy armor is obviously the preferred one, but at the same time, if you can't do certain actions, then you have to go change your armor out if you want to play a certain style, kind of thing. You probably shouldn't be running around jumping rooftop to rooftop in like metal armor. Uh, but again, that'll be very specific to the armors that I'm releasing. In heavy armor, you get 250. That must mean that they don't officially give heavy armor until much later in the game. There's also the question of, does this value even work? This could be an early thing. Okay, so heavy armor. I'm going to actually say that heavy armor 225, ultimate gives 200, survivor gives 225, casual gives the full 250. And again, we'll have to test this out and rebalance, but kind of the idea here is that we introduce the idea, we try it out. If we don't like it, strip it out. We'll see. Into here, we'll say scripts, health, definitions. Pretty sure for most of the things related to the stamina, we still have the max stamina in here, I think. Stamina. So this is the max stamina player. Default is maybe default is 0.80. And this one's actually pretty tricky because you can't lower this for the beginning of the game. Players can't complete the tutorial if you lower this number, and so this is like you have to do it. If you mess with the stamina, you have to do it after the tutorial. So it pretty much makes it to where people can modify it afterwards, but otherwise, this has to be installed after the tutorial kind of thing. Here is the very controversial regen rate for the stamina. So many people got upset about this one. Which this can't be still active, actually. Because more people would be, this would be actually working. Saying there's no way that this is actually. Yeah, so I'm currently pulling them out. Thank you for mentioning that. They're getting pulled out of the buildings. I'm gonna continue to try to see if I can solve a way for them to actually. The idea would be that they would be in there fighting the zombies, but they have some very weird code with the interior system in the game. It's almost like its own additional cell, and the rules for the exterior don't apply to the interior, and so they have very limited interior areas. And I'm not really sure why they did that, but yeah. So there's just oh, okay. So this is the wrong one. So it's okay, and so that was actually a different stamina. Can't remember what. Have to go back. Oh, this is the regen rate while running. So that one's probably actually working. Um, it's just doing much less stamina. Eight ultimate fiber. This is fiber, so it actually needs to be changed. Yeah, I was testing that the other day. It's mainly based on the noise that you make. So if you're crouched, you shouldn't make a lot of noise. As far as like their sight goes, so if they turn around and they see you, then I have increased their ability to see you. Um, and so how I've been playing it is that when you go into interiors, you only get anywhere near them when their backs are turned to you. If they turn around and look in your direction, they have a chance of seeing you. Um, it's not very well documented, and I know a lot of people have mentioned it, but it's one of those things where it's kind of that discussion of can they see in the dark? Can they not see in the dark? Are they smelling you? How are they detecting that the player is there? So I was trying to take the path that like they're hunting for you, they're smelling for you if they turn around and they're looking right at you and you're sitting under a desk. Technically, they could probably still see you. If you can see them, they can see you, kind of thing. So, but do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any preferences? Cool. I'm trying to think if I can perform any, if I can do any math on these things where I'm going and manually setting these things for Ultimate and Survivor. Technically, there might be a way that I can actually do a modifier value that then I can just set an overall modifier. I think that would start to get kind of hairy, but it's just going to be a pain in the ass when I go back and set each one of these for Ultimate, Survivor, Casual, because redoing the config file means I need to like recreate the config file for all three. So it's going to throw the balancing off just a little bit at first, and so I got to balance that back out. So the running, I think, has all gone away. I think I want to pull. I think I need to pull up one of my older versions here so I can see what I balanced before and or at least see the values that I was modifying. Oh, we just said like speed. I'm sure that will be fine. Um, okay, well, yeah. Yeah, so like there's the stamina consumption when moving. Stamina. Pull all of these into the same place. A lot easier time finding them. Hey Anthony, welcome to the stream, man. Hope you're doing well. How the research go last night? Yeah, that's pretty common with modding the game, sadly. There's a lot of the way I would describe it is when I first started the mod back in February, I spent the first like month crawling the code and trying to see what worked and what doesn't work. And I would say 90% of the code that's in the data zero doesn't actually work. Um, so that was some very early on testing that I did that could never could never really get that to work as expected. But I think you were on to something with the furniture. Have you tried anything? Um, have you tried anything there since you started messing around with it? Sounds good. Hopefully you have better results there. So they have some very interesting trigger code and some very interesting like zone collider code in the game. That I think basically the problem is that I think essentially the game is three different versions of the game that one finally got released, but I really feel like there's a lot of pivots in the code where they did it one way and then they ran out of funding or they changed their idea or they implemented a new system that we don't even have access to. And so I think with some of that, I think some of that is baked into the actual maps themselves that you can get to from the editor that you probably can't get to through the scripts. And so, with a lot of those world events, most of that code didn't work before. I did try again with shredding those two R packs that contain the prefabs and the logic. So far, everything I've tried doesn't work, but I'll keep playing around with it. I mean, obviously, some people have figured out ways to get specific things to work. So I think it's, one of those things of like, it just kind of comes down to like what specifically you're trying to get to work. Baby steps, probably. Yeah. The That's okay. I think I got my start with modding without being a formal programmer, and I had programming experience, but you don't technically need it for everything in modding. So it definitely helps to know some of it. Also, coding is a lot of fun. So speed time, off the move, speed factor. It depends if you are getting paid for your code or if you're doing your code for fun. Because if you're getting paid for your code, it can be super frustrating. You're not well, hopefully you're getting paid for your code either way, but if you're not, it's one of those things of where hopefully your job doesn't count on it because it can get super frustrating. Let's see. Simulation sickness test, sprint modifier. I'm pretty sure that's the one I used to use. Fire. V. Default is 0.6 or 60. 0. Very cool. What do you play? Stamina, weapon, the multiplier. stamina regen. Oh, very nice. That's awesome, man. Have you ever looked into doing like kind of indie game score audio writing or anything? I know there's always a need for audio engineers and audio developers. Okay. I think I'm going to try to get the run speed. Let's see, this is in here. So kick stamina usage. Player stamina, kick usage multiplier. Default is 0.5. Weapons, stamina. Yeah, you wouldn't need a degree. Basically, I mean, and that's again, so I work in game development, so most of the time it comes down to the need. If you're a motivated, dedicated person that enjoys making music, teams would thrive off of that. So I just opened my own game dev studio here this month, and so if I ever need any audio scores, I know someone to talk to. Just because you can always benefit from talented people that make music. That's it's definitely something that I don't see why anybody would necessarily not want that. You know. remember the last time I started messing with their math, that ended up causing a lot of issues. So I think I'm going to leave their movement speed alone, um, just because I can already hear people asking why the hell. So I think I'm going to change that, or I'm going to leave that alone for now. We'll come back to that. And then let's see, jump. Absolutely, especially if you wanted to mess around with like indie development. So the Unity game engine is a great place to get started with indie dev, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's all sorts of things, especially so I worked in VR research for a lot of years, and the need for good audio in your experience while moving or interacting with stuff. If you could use a guitar to record different actions and different things inside the game, you could probably launch like an entire like synthesized music game that people love because it's relaxing kind of thing. All comes down to your creativity and like what you put into it. Let's see. See, the same is true of like the jump height. I don't know how much. I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit of game logic hooked up to being able. You have to be able to jump to a certain height. So I'm gonna leave that one alone as well, just because I don't want to break the game for anybody here. Um, Sounds good, man. So I'm working on a couple of different things right now that relaxing scores on the guitar would be awesome. So I'll reach out to you if you have time. I'll let you know kind of like what I'm working on and how that might be useful. Jump alone, and then we'll still have force ragdoll in here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to waste time. It's just too much time to balance as well. Um, Damage, force. Yeah, I think they got rid of that. So that being said, let me search through all of this to make sure I didn't use this somewhere else. Well, it is here. Melee, brawn, melee, blunt, ragdoll, hit, or X, every X hit. This was the, if you hit them twice, it would make them ragdoll. That was part of my physics update before. Go ahead and remove that for now because they've redone their physics system. Standing over. Yeah, that's still there. Which all the survivor sense stuff no longer works. Just have to figure out why that changed. Mess with these in a while to determine if yeah, let's I'm gonna mess with these again and see if we can get survivor sense updated because that's something that I've been wanting to kill for a little bit here. Let's see. Survivor sense. Some of them. Sense range, capacity, AI duration, wave duration. Cool, man. All right. Keep up the good work. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for stopping by. Section of testing. All these are still in here. So let's switch over really quickly here. Yeah. Okay, so we have cooldown is being used. It's not being used. I think that was the one that actually was breaking it, is that you couldn't do cooldown. Let's get rid of cooldown. Survivor sense while moving. I think that was another one. Three tags. While moving. I think it's because can use sense while moving. I think these worked. Yeah. Let me try to set that back up and see if we can get this working again. 5% while moving. Make a little section here called Survivor Sense because that definitely needs to be its own section. I know that people are very attached to that. Some people hate it. It's like Survivor Sense. Cool. go in here and start pulling up the actual default values as well. Default is, oh, that's the wrong one. Default is 20. Here, 20. Wait a second. Have a good night, man. Take care. That's detection time. Survival sensor range. Survivor sense AI range. So I must have tried to turn this off at some point. City. Default is 1 detection time. So maybe this is why it was actually duration. How long? So default is 10. Well, 10. That one gets me so many times. So you have to add these backslashes in here, or it thinks that's part of the code as well. Yeah, look at this. It's littered with it. Because I'm not using like Visual Studio or anything like that. So it just feels like I don't have to, but definitely have to. I think I didn't waste time by launching with that in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch the game up. Let me actually go through really quick and make sure there's no other ones. I haven't gotten that far down yet. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this over and we'll go ahead and launch again and see how that does. Loaded. And then I think if I remember straight, I should now get the running drain again. Oh, I died. So a health modifier. That's kind of funny. So player health modifier It's calling him to immediately die. That's actually pretty good. Okay, so that might be from the armor. Let me see if I can take this armor off really quick and see if it somehow negated my health because of the armor sets. It's probably the. Let's see if that'll do it. Okay, so let's go back to the logs really quick and make sure that we're not getting any errors. Nope, it got one. On import, the health definitions. Oh, did it? Maybe it's because I put it in between sub. That's what I did. Whoops. That'll do it. All right. Clear that. Clear that. Let's try that again. But the fun part was that it was probably killing the entire world as well. Hey Zod, how's it going? I saw your request in there for the biter grab. Yeah, I think that should be pretty straightforward. I plan on adding it to the config so you guys can do that if you want. So I should be able to just, if this stamina thing is working, I think I have stamina bar turned off here. I guess not. Yeah, it is on. Is that from my? I don't think that's from my options. Say HUD. Health bars, humans, waking time, stamina bar. Running. Yeah, so it's no longer draining the stamina, or maybe it's just doing it at so little amount that it's not saying it here. I'll mess with that. But it looks like everything else is good to go so far. So doing the up and down crap. I was working a little bit on that earlier on, I think on Friday, to try to get them to stop moving around so much to where they're coming down. Because I can't tell if it's because he's losing his target. And actually, maybe that's it. Is that maybe he's losing his target? He's going up and he's going down. He's acquiring his target. and then he goes back up. Might be the vertical target indicators for these guys. I have to keep looking at that for them. Again, they were never meant to actually do that, so having to write a lot of stuff to make that happen. Zod, while I got you on the line, let's look at that. So I believe that's going to be if it's in the attacks, then maybe I can lean into that. Fire charge with grab. Grab with attack. I guess the question is stand grab. It's probably that. Cone angle, additional range, use weapon, severity light, grab or stand. And here's the sync action group. Yeah, I was gonna reach out to you once I had a chance to review the actual code to see what could be done. Just because they have two different sections where this guy, like, I'm always in the behavior trees, and if it's in the behavior trees, then you've got a cooldown. So you could probably do something like just turn down the cooldown for their biter combat. So let's see, biter grab, biter strafe with grab, biter light attack is combat sync, and actually I think there were the sync actions as well, but that affects the multiplayer sync action. What's it called? Action. Let's do SCRs. Sync actions. Damage. Versus the sync actions here. Grabs. Use sync action grabs. So we go in here and say sync action grabs. Yeah, so it's probably right here. So if we say like biter, and I'd probably just skip ahead and say biter grab. Yeah, biter grab run by W right, offset distance. Anyway, what I was saying is that it comes down to like how you can tie into it as far as like the injectable code. So yes, I could technically pull it out. I feel like I'm gonna get a bunch of people randomly saying that they didn't want it out. So I would probably want to try to do it in the config file. And so if I'm going to do it in the config file, I guess what I could do here is we go here. I'm going to say, did I do biter grab? Yeah, I did. Encounter sync action, distance. We get out of these down to the scripts. It's going to be encounters. So it looks like it's actually part of the encounter biter grab. And it's mainly because they have to sync this up over the network. So this, all the attacks and everything are kind of in the second one. So it's a sync action so that everybody sees that they're being grabbed. In sync action. So that's where it's just syncing the damage. I mean, you can definitely remove it. I mean, essentially, it's it looks like it's like a all or nothing kind of thing, sadly. Um, in the sense that actors distance travel gets distance by target. Their target be grabbed. Um, Here is a cooldown value. The challenge with the cooldown value is that the cooldown will only work after they've done it once. So technically, every single zombie that you encounter would be able to grab you first. Um, but potentially, if I search for this, it's probably going to be in the conditions. Um, let's say this profile. And actually, give me 1 second, guys. I gotta step away for 1 second. I'll come right back to this. I'm back. Sorry for the interruption there. So, it looks like they don't have a value that basically, and I think it's because of all the networking they probably had to do to get biter grabbing even possible. So, what I can do is I can decrease the global cooldown time, um, and then potentially shorten the um, it's a special attack minimum delay, release after attack time, release on damage. So it uses a combat slot, so actually this may work. I don't know what else that would break though. I was going to say potentially we could remove the slots themselves. So that they don't have an available slot, but yeah, they looks like that would be across like everyone, and so that one's not going to work either. But that's interesting. And try to see here. So we have these sync action slots, which I think mainly apply to networked games, but probably not. Melee attack range special, token true, roll. What's interesting to me is that they've got this low number of slots in here, but with all the population changes I've made, that we're not seeing more issues. So I'm actually going to increase some of these to find out kind of what happens because of that. And I'll discard it if it causes any issues. But so essentially, we can increase attack should probably be like range attack 6, attack range should actually be like 4. Let's see what happens with that. Potentially, I won't see any changes on this side, but networked players might be able to see some changes. So yeah, so we're working on this biter grab thing. I think the problem here is that grab enabled, grab limit. Grab max range. Potentially what I can do for the mod is go in here to the AI behavior trees, biters, profile, base profile, and do a couple of things here like reduce the range for the attacks or for the grabs. If you're still on the line, Zod, then I would say probably your best bet is to go into the base profile and turn off this grab enabled, setting that to false. There's not really a way that I can, let's see, and then there's this grab limit, which you can probably set to 0. Um, Guess while I'm here, I'm also going to increase some of this UV to die thing so that people can't uh, farm the zombies quite as easy. Just at the 15. Grab one player not moving. Also, there's enable grab when player not moving. I think probably the bigger thing that I've seen is as you go running by, um, people or the zombies grab you, and I think that's a different one. But I'll at least reduce the range so that you have to like really be close to them for that to happen, and I'll do some testing there to see if it helps with any of that. But I was hoping that one would be a little bit easier, but I don't think so. I think that one, because with these XML files, you can't inject into those. So I can only really inject into these SCRs and definition files. And so if it was available in there, there is still this stand grab. Um, I wonder if there's any of these that I can set to like. So if this is like considered a weapon, I've been examining the code for these guys for a little while, but I still haven't really understood how they're defining weapons. Weapons could actually be like just like you fire a pistol or whatever. They could actually have like a grab weapon that they've got. Technically, if that were true, this being set to false or the cone angle being set to 0 could actually get rid of it. Use weapons on here twice. Just realized that. They have a typo on here. Um, so let's go in here and unless this is from my unless that's from a bad update, let me confirm the tag presets. No, it's on there twice. Interesting. So potentially, I'm not sure why it's on there twice, but potentially going and setting this to false could fix it. Let me go in here and set this to false. And when I do my test, we'll see if that does it. Because if they can't grab me, then I'll know. And then what I can do is add that value to the config file, and that should do it. So let me actually, seeing how the rest of this is, I have to dive a little bit further on the rest of this. Let me go ahead and test that and see, especially now that I've done the sync changes as well. Let's just go ahead and test that out. We'll find out. I was hoping I would have time to get to the armor, but I don't think that's going to happen this go around. I try to keep these to about 2 to 3 hours each time I do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and rename my branch to config update. And keep these minimal. Oh, Spider-Man moment. Not actually sure why that fired. Oh, thanks, Zod. I appreciate it, man. Lots and lots of years, but mainly through games. So I've been writing mods for a lot of years now, but also I've been it's my day-to-day job. So I work inside of a development engine for a living, and yeah, I didn't fix that. Damn. So did at least get the oh, don't leave. Be able to acquire his target from up there. Be shooting. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I think having these guys climb is probably one of my favorite things in the mod, to be honest. I really want to try to bring back more of the building top features, which they have disabled right now, by the way. So maybe it's the angle. Maybe it's the attack angle. And you just can't attack something that, no, that's disproved. It's how I'm firing the go higher code. It's firing too many times. So that didn't work. Let me try to do this like I think it's at night that it's most apparent, but let me try to find a group here and do some run around, see how often they can see how well this works. What's it gonna do up there? Down. Okay. Didn't work with him for whatever reason. I think seems to be working pretty good. Fool me once kind of thing. Okay, so the grab's not fixed. I'm gonna switch back over really quick just because I'm about to jump off here in a second. Um, I will continue to look at the grab system and see if I can figure out a way that I can make this injectable. In the meantime, it's not using the actual use weapon value, but again, I could try the cone angle. Set that to 0. Yeah, if we set that to 0, then that might work. Starting to notice that all their cone angles are 20, though. I'm not sure that means that they work or not. Oh, there's a 40. Okay. Um, yeah, so let me try to continue to get a couple more values here, and then I'll do another test, and let's find out if that caused any issues. So for the next one, that was combat. We have the survivor sense. I have not tested that out yet, but at least nothing broke. So if we go in here and say AI range is 0, survivor sense range is 10. One of them was sleeping. AI indicators, AI. Resting. I'm sure this is here as well. It is, and that's the survivor sense AI range, which is 0. So that should get rid of the X-ray survivor sense for the AI, but we'll find out. So the camouflage. All of these, I keep forgetting my location thing here, which happens for sure. But let's say combat, all of these should be here. Camouflage is in here. Weapon durability is set to 0. Yeah, that's definitely broken. I was supposed to say there's no way weapon durability is 0. Settings. Let me search. Make sure this one is not free floating out in the mod somewhere. No. Okay. I'm pretty sure those values are, actually, I think they are in here. Melee weapon durability multiplier to reduce. I think that's the one I was originally doing. Let me see here. Say inventory. Weapons. So far stuff. Change this to where it's a little bit more explained there. Default value. So this is based on the name. Melee weapon durability multiplier reduce. So my guess is this is where it's the global reducing the durability on the weapons, which would probably explain why people are saying that their weapons last such a long time on the mod. So let's go in here and say ability global. It's not their durability. Apparently, that's a modifier to globally reduce the durability on weapons. And then, so this is weapon settings. Go here, grab this. Auto aim. It's actually in the inventory, but also with the auto aim, I guess this needs to actually be with the, do like a projectiles section. These can go, crossbow can go under ranged. I'll have to confirm on those. I'll have to confirm on the bow and crossbow settings. I think a lot of those worked at one point, but I'm not really sure that they're working anymore. Man, I've been doing this for 2 hours and I'm nowhere near the end. Okay. Let's see. Weapons, general settings. We were going to add this. Files. That's going to be in inventory special auto. main auto, right? Yeah. Yeah, so none of the bow things are actually being enabled anymore. I'm gonna actually remove the bow for now. That way we can use this. This can actually just say range. Um, and we'll come back to the bow once we have time to balance that properly. And then this is experience. So this should probably be like gameplay. Say like math experience. Or potentially level in the future here. Do like a little experience section. I guess is that these are here. Zero, and what I think I'm going to do with this is if you play like Survivor or you play like Ultimate, you get more experience kind of thing um, versus playing Survivor. So that kind of like brings the draw um, to playing Ultimate is that you'll get higher experience, especially from nighttime because nighttime is like freaking ridiculous. The XP looted reward, it's 5. Interesting. 20. So then for the densities file, I guess I'll have to pull up like So basically, I think as of right now, um, changing this value should actually change the amount of screamers specific. Here's the min max that's in the dynamic spawner. Yeah, so this is a special tag. So basically, I think currently, based on the changes I made the other day, I think the easiest way to get rid of large numbers of screamers spawning is to on logic. Um, this needs to be on. Give me a logic param. So to test that out, we should be able to go in here and say like 100. I don't think it can do 100. I think it can do like 50 to like 100. And that should thin out those groups of. I could never get the spawn pools added here. The weapon settings. Let's go ahead and start from here and make sure all this is working without any bugs. We can also test to see if grabbing is actually toggable. So let's see what we got. And then I'm probably going to take a break here and come back to this a bit later. But I think for the most part, these next ones are fairly concrete, except the like chase system. I think all of that remains to be what it is. I just need to document it a little bit better in all of this. But was able to get through quite a few sections here. I didn't actually get a chance to comment on most of them yet, though. Okay. Yeah. Let's give this a shot. A couple of things that we're going to hopefully see here is that the X-ray vision for the AI should be turned off. The grab abilities for those zombies should be turned off. And then based on what I was just working on, hopefully the streamers will be further apart. Okay. First things first, let's go do the grabs. All them and not me. I can grapple them. I don't think I've actually ever seen a grapple button show up on them. Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen that. I just don't remember it being like a. Yikes. I think that's because I took all my armor off. Maybe it's actually where those values are affecting the armor. And here is the Chrome glitch. Didn't fix it. So still working on the Chrome glitch. It's annoying. Thought that one was taken care of. No grabs. Well, grabbing is going to be turned on for a little bit. Okay. So first it was the, yeah, see, I think this is their rain, their full on rain effect. But yes, I still need to make sure that goes away. It's way too chromy. It's so hit or miss though. Interesting. One thing. Okay. So the grabs are still not fixed. Next was going to be the Screamer's survival sense. Still shows up. Swear to God, man. They've got that module so damn protected for no reason. Yeah. So X-ray still messed up. Continue to look at that. So still no good there. So let's go ahead and die. Switch to night. See if one good thing worked. Let's see if our screamers are at least reduced. Ah, and then the Chrome fixes itself. They just never shut up, man. I got to keep working on their barks. That's what they call them. They just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. give this a second and let that catch up. We got one, two. Still got a couple of them grouped together in a square. Go down this way. We got one, two. It's not bad. Back alleys. You got one over there. Got a charger. Over there. Screamer here. Shit. One there. Two there. Let's see if our goons work. Goons are working. Can't figure out how to get through here. There we go. Got one screamer. screamer. Shit, he's insane. Yeah, still made it past. Yeah, I think this is a lot better. You still have quite a few out here, but it's definitely nothing compared to what it was before. So I think those values are working. One, two. Two, maybe even go a little bit further. Quite a few volatiles though. See two right there. They're still not moving though. Okay. I think overall that is working as far as the spawn goes. I think that is actually working. Sure. Yeah, I think that's much better. I mean, I do still occasionally see I mean, not occasionally. I mean, I do still see screamers out here, but it is definitely nothing compared to what it was. Cool. Okay. All right, guys. I think I'm going to take a break from this for now. As always, onward and upward. Still trying to figure some things out as far as the config file goes, and so I can make a nice, clean tutorial on how to use the config. But so far, I was able to get through what 120 lines, give or take. And so slowly but surely, the whole config itself is around 600. So it's going to take a minute, but reducing what I can as far as things that aren't relevant or things that aren't useful anymore. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I would like to add to this list. But first, I want to go through and clean this and make sure that it's as good as possible for where we're currently at. And I'll keep going through it. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this session. I hope you guys got your questions answered. If you have any future questions, you can leave them on YouTube. Join me on the Discord. But thank you guys so much, and I look forward to talking to you guys next time.